Yeah, so while I lived there, I spoke 4 languages. And after I moved here, you don't use it, you lose it.
Welcome, everyone, to Grit and Grace podcast, episode 12. I'm here with the homie, Albie Bostrom. He's the owner of Thrifthood. He's actually, this is kind of what I would actually describe him as, is the only person that I know that's matched kind of the level of energy and love for sneakers that I have. Literally. I don't have like anyone. Shane, I had Shane Bills on. He was up there, but I don't think as much into Jordans and Nikes. And then a college dropout. You got to add that in. And then, of course, like a mother and a father. And how old is your kid again?
You're 16 months? 16 months or so.
I saw that picture of them on a little date.
Yeah.
So
last
cute,
night,
dude.
yeah.
Every picture is just... And then the picture with Post Malone.
Yeah.
We'll try to throw that up here. You and just post.
Yeah, he'll have a dope, he could play like the 2 truths and a lie.
Oh, yeah.
One will be Post Malone holding him. So.
That'll be an iconic thing. But yeah, if you want to just introduce yourself and just like where you're from, where you grew up, your family, siblings, just everything.
Yeah.
Literally.
My name's Wai-Keen Alan Bostrom, but I go by Albie. I own Thrifthood. Been in business for about 6 years now. College dropout. I went to UVU, I think, like 3 semesters or so. School wasn't for me, and so here we are. Born in Thousand Oaks, California. Had some family stuff. My mom's from Malaysia. We moved to Malaysia when I was 3.
Oh, I never knew that.
And then lived there till I was about 12. Moved back to Utah and then been here since I was 12. So, yeah. Me and my wife. How
now?
I'm 32.
Holy, dude, you're aging like
I'm
a fine wine.
32.
You seem really young. That's crazy.
Dude, it's crazy. I feel like everyone's staying the same age, but I keep getting older.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I found a picture of myself like 4 years ago, and my face just seems so much more slim. Now I feel like I'm
really.
And it's starting to show on the face a little bit.
You look slim though.
Thank you.
It's crazy.
Thank you.
Crazy.
Well, yeah. So, I'm 32 now. So yeah, Thrifthood's kind of like that's my career. It's not like a for fun thing anymore. You know, maybe when we first started, it felt like might be a hobby, might be a couple year thing, but now that's what it is. And we just got our keys to our second location a couple weeks ago, and yeah, it's just growing. And I have a family now. Me and my wife got married. Fun story. Me and my wife met the same day Thrifthood started.
Oh, really?
One of our first dates. She might not call it a date. I was like, hey, do you want to come over to my house and build some racks with me? You know, so she came over and built some racks. So, yeah, our relationship is kind of the same timeline as Thrifthood. Yeah, so, and then we got married about 2 years ago, and then had our baby pretty quickly. But we were dating a long time before that. And, yeah, he's about a year and a half or so, almost. So,
wow.
He's dope. He's so cool.
He's dope. What's his name again?
Ray.
Ray.
He's cool.
He's pretty cute. He looks. I feel like he really does look like you and your wife together.
Yeah. He's starting to look more like us together. When he was first born, he was all me, but
just that Asian.
Yeah.
That Asian. I never knew you were. So you were raised in Malaysia.
Yeah. That's like my childhood was
your childhood
Malaysia.
Memories are in Malaysia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What is like? I don't know even like what's like what is even Malaysia like? I've been to China. Like I've been to the Asian. I've been to Thailand.
Yeah.
Have you been to Thailand?
No.
Okay.
But I've seen. I mean,
like what's Malaysia in relationship to like Japan, China? Like what is it like?
Malaysia. There's the main city there, Kuala Lumpur. Really, the only like big city there is one of the more modern cities in the world, which is kind of crazy because I think a lot of people when they think of like Asian countries, they think of like it's more run down a little bit and dirt roads, when I tell my friends, they're like, whoa, like I thought it was dirt roads, like more like metal huts and like that kind of stuff, which there are like all throughout the country. But for the most part, it's very, I mean, it's a normal place, just like here, just not as clean, a little more dirty, hot, very hot and humid, mix of all different kinds of people, Chinese, Malays, Muslims.
Did you speak English?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
Yeah.
It was full. Is that the country language or?
No, it's Malay. Because it's Malaysia, Malay's the main language.
Yeah.
A lot of Chinese people migrated from China to Malaysia when there's a whole communist movement in China. A lot of people escaped the country. So a lot of people end up in Malaysia. So a lot of Chinese are there. So they spoke Chinese, Mandarin, and Cantonese, and all, spoke English as well. So if I get my history wrong of Malaysia, my mom's going to be so disappointed because I'm pretty sure.
That's crazy.
Is it?
He's scared. He's like,
I'm like, okay, hold on. I need a fact check. I think Britain came to conquer Malaysia as well, and so that's where like the English kind of came from as well. And so, so while I lived there, I spoke 4 languages, and after I moved here, you don't use it, you lose it, right? And so,
so you don't speak.
I speak English now, right?
But you can't speak.
The other 3 languages, I can understand them pretty okay.
Like if someone came into Thrifthood and he spoke any of those 3 and they tried to negotiate a deal, could you? I
could understand it,
but you
responding, I couldn't do it back. So, which is very unfortunate because Chinese, Mandarin, and Cantonese are some of the hardest languages to learn. And so it sucks that I've kind of lost it, but it's in the blood.
It's in the blood.
You know, it's in the blood still.
Wow.
Yeah, when we went to visit my grandma, because my mom's side of the family is all still out there. So we were just out there maybe like a year and a half ago, and I started to pick it back up again. We were there for 2.5 weeks, and so at the end of it, I was speaking it again. And so.
What was the adjustment like from? And your family's LDS, is that why you came to Utah? So what was the adjustment like transitioning from Malaysia? The only reason I asked LDS is like Utah is such a random place to come. But what was the adjustment from Malaysia to Utah? And that, like, you know?
Because you're not even going from just Malaysia to Utah, right? You're going Malaysia to the U.S.
Like,
like,
I didn't even think about it. I just like, but Utah is like a different breed too.
Yeah, right.
Itself,
so we're converts. Are we going into like a whole? I guess we're going down this route,
dude. It'll dive into everything.
Okay.
Yeah. I never knew any of this. I actually never knew any of this about.
Okay. A lot of people don't, but yeah, like so when I was,
are we diving into? This?
We're going into my conversion story. So we're converts to the church.
And you don't even have to dive into the church or anything,
right?
But if it has just to do with the story, yeah, then let's get it.
I guess how we ended up here, because it is kind of random, right? But my dad passed away when I was 3.5 years old, and so that's why we moved. He brought my mom here from Malaysia because he was in the Vietnam War, so he was all over there. After the war, he went there to visit her because they met prior, and so he brought her here to California, here as in the U.S., to California. They met, got married, had me and my brother. He passed away. My mom brought me and my brother back to Malaysia with her family. Living there, always confused about like where he went after death. And so she was big into trading.
Where he went, as in the body, or like
like the afterlife.
Oh,
like,
okay. Yeah.
Like the afterlife, like where does someone go after they die, right? Yeah. And so nothing really made sense to her. Like,
do you have memories of that part at that
of him passing away?
Yeah, do you have any like recollection of that?
I have one random memory of him. Our house in California. There's a snake coming over our fence, and he tossed it. He like manhandled it and threw it back over. That's the only memory I have of him.
That's a dope memory.
Yeah, and then just like random moments of like with my white family and playing in sandboxes, playgrounds, but my dad's side, white, and then my mom, Asian side. So,
See, I didn't even know that. So you're Asian.
I'm Asian. Yeah.
Straight Asian. I just thought you were Asian.
No, yeah.
Purebred.
My dad's side is all white.
Okay.
And then, so yeah, I'm half. My son's a quarter now.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's confused where he went in the afterlife. And so she was big into the stock market. She met a guy named Vern who lived in Utah, LDS. Fell in love over online through trading. And so he brought her...
This is OG online. This is
even... He brought her to the U.S. to meet him. He brought her to Temple Square to meet the sister missionaries. And
this is crazy.
And they're like, hey, are you okay if we send people to you in Malaysia to talk to you? And she's like, she's like, why not? There's no way you're going to send someone to my house in Malaysia to come talk to me. So she's like, why not? And then like 2 weeks later, knock on the door, shirt and tie, name tag, missionaries show up to our house, and they got talking, and his name is Elder Claus. He's dope. He's the one that baptized me, my mom, and my brother, and so he's the one that kind of brought us into all of it, the LDS faith. We got baptized in Malaysia. Shortly after that, her and Vern fell in love, so then we moved here for her to be with him, but also for us to have more opportunities in the U.S., better education, more opportunities for just whatever we want to do. Yeah, the American dream, right? Just come here from a different country and just...
So are you dual citizen then?
No, I'm just not. Because I was born here, I'm a U.S. citizen. And so my mom got her citizenship.
Oh, that's true. So you were born in California.
I was born in California, yeah.
I forgot
so I'm a U.S. citizen. And my mom got her citizenship, I think 2013. I was on my mission when she got her citizenship. So, yeah, so we're here. And then crazy, my mom got remarried to him when I was 15. He passed away when I was 16. So just...
Whoa.
I've learned a lot of like my grit and grinding through, I think, just like seeing my mom just like go through a bunch of stuff in her life, of like being a single mom, not once but twice, and just like working, grinding, and just even if you don't have passion for something, it's like sometimes it's like you just gotta get stuff done, you know.
Yeah,
it's
like one of my favorite things is like, if it's easy, do it easy. If it's hard, do it hard. Just make sure you get it done, and
you just do it, right? So,
do you think that's like diving into kind of like how you're raised, being like only raised by a mom truly, and then obviously when you were 15, 16, there was another, I guess, father figure. At that time, did you see him as a father figure, or was it more like you were raised by your mom? That's kind of your parental.
Yeah. Because he came into our lives around when I was 11.
Okay.
But that was back in Malaysia, right? But they didn't get married till like years after, when I was 15 or so. And so I think, because you always see in the movies, I was influenced heavily by movies of like the stepfather was like, oh, that you're not my dad type of thing, right? And so I think me and my brother kind of had that mentality of just like, no, like we don't know who you are. So we didn't really accept him in until I'd say maybe the year before he passed away. I think we were more accepting of him because he did love my mom, and so
you're grateful
it was hard
for him looking back.
Yeah, grateful for him because he's the reason why we're here in Utah, in the United States.
This is crazy. I never knew any of this.
Yeah,
this is wild.
And so because of him, we're here, which I'm super thankful for. Because I love Utah. I love my life here, my friends, family, just everything that we've built here. Like, I love it. And so she's remarried again. And she's like, finger crossed.
Keep this one for longer.
Like, third time's the charm, right? So we all kind of joke about it, and she's trying to keep him healthy and not...
keep him alive, essentially.
Yeah, so...
that's interesting. So going fast forward, you graduate high school... Where in Utah? Timpanogos. So you go to Temp, you graduate Temp, and then you go on a mission pretty early, like 18, or is this back when
it was 20? Back when it was 19.
19.
So I went like 19 and a half. I needed some time to kind of figure out what I wanted to do because I I'm very much a person that I don't like to follow the crowd just because everyone's doing it. I want to make sure like things are being done for the right reason, right? Like I don't want to go on a mission because everyone's doing it.
Easily.
Yeah, I want to do it because I want to do it. So it took me a minute to figure out that was my path, and I wanted to be okay with myself that if I didn't go on a mission, that's okay too, you know, and that my mom would also be okay with that, and because the opinion of my mom means a lot to me, right? So I want to make sure that like I do things that make her proud of me, rather than like certain decisions that, yeah, a lot of decisions I make is maybe more when I was younger, based off of will my mom be proud of me or happy that I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Which makes sense
because she is literally your like
that's
pinnacle of what you look up to in that.
Yeah, and so, I went 19 and a half or so before the age change. While I was out there, that was the age change and all the influx and all that stuff. So I went 2012, came back 2014. I went to college for a little bit.
Which college did you go to?
UVU.
You did.
And then I danced for a little bit. I don't know if you knew.
I know you. I've heard that you. Yeah. So did you dance at UVU or did you just?
I danced at UVU on a team called Mosaic. It was the hip hop company for UVU. But I was dancing before that. I was dancing in high school. I did talent shows.
Was that in Malaysia you started or?
No, I started here in Utah. Whoa. The Jabberwockies. You know the Jabberwockies? Yeah. I fell in love with like what it was when they were on the first America's Best Dance Crew. And then me and my friends created a little dance crew back in high school, and then it's like, I don't want to say cringy because like I love that what it was all throughout it, right? A lot of people I think would think it's cringy, but every now and then I'm like, what the heck was that? But
what kind of led you to this idea of like, oh, I'm done with school, and then where did you go from there? Like when you dropped out of school, you were at UVU for how long?
I think 3 semesters.
And then you decided that you didn't like school.
Yeah, I was never really good at school, even in high school, elementary school. I was never the best student. Well, I'd say I'm a good student. I wasn't a good, like, I don't know the word.
Like test.
Just being at school, like learning all of that just like never made sense to me. Like, why am I learning all this stuff that I know I'm not going to use? So then college is like, I'm just going to spend money to get a piece of paper, which if you're going to school, that's fine. Everyone has their own path, right? But for me, my path wasn't school, and I knew that, and I didn't want to go into more debt to just go to school, right? Kind of like the mission thing. Just like, I don't want to do it just because everyone's doing it, and, you know, and so my mom never went to school, and so I was like, you know, like, I don't think she'd be that disappointed in me if I didn't finish school, and
which is interesting because Asian culture is very school oriented. You go to school and you do, like, it really is.
Yeah, it is.
Is Malaysia a little bit different then?
No.
The same?
Like the schooling system in Malaysia, I don't know how it is now, but back when I was in school, it's intense. If you don't get a good grade, the teachers hit you. And then you go home, your parents hit you. You know, and it's not like a hand. They have like a cane, like a bamboo cane that they'll whip you with. And if your hair's like long past a certain length, if you're a boy, they'll drag you into the principal's office, shave your head. If your fingernails were dirty, they'd hit your hands.
Whoa.
Like if you didn't do your homework, you got bad grades, like you'd get hit at school.
Do you ever remember getting hit?
Yeah. We would put we'd get like wood glue, clear wood glue, and we'd just like paste our hands to put like another layer on it, so when we got hit, it wouldn't hurt as much. Some kids would bleed because they got hit so much. You get hit like 13, 14 times and just boom, 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 and you just have to stand there, and if you flinch, you get hit again. So you have to just sit there with your hands open, and you just get hit. And it's elementary school. It's not even high school. It's elementary school.
It's kind of gnarly because it's like, and this, like, you could really look back and be like, that's pretty like low-key kind of like traumatic. Like, you could be like, that's kind of like.
So when I came here and I heard my classmates talking back to the teacher, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy that this is even like
allowed or
yeah,
even
that you're doing this, you know, like we'd get hit, you know, and it's intense. And so, yeah,
That's insane. I this is like so crazy to me because like you seem so like you're not that old. Or it's always like when you hear about teachers hitting, you always think of like 56-year-olds talking about back in my day. They used to like
and you get paddled on the butt a little
you
bit.
actually genuinely did. And so when you came and you transitioned to this, like how old were you? So 6 years ago, you were 20 when you started Thrifthood. Technically started. It was
26, yeah.
You were 26.
Yeah.
In between like 22 and 26, where were you at before Thrifthood?
Knocking doors.
Really?
Yeah.
Who'd you
With
knock
Vivint.
for? Vivint.
Yeah, I did 3 years with Vivint. I was with Vivint for a long time because before knocking doors, I did retention for them.
You would, yeah. Sales.
Before Vivint was the door-to-door company.
No, it really
back then, right? Like
before the Grit,
Vivint
was
before Grit, before
thing.
Active was like Active now. Like Vivint was like the company to knock for, right? Like that was a cool company that had cool gear, cool company. Like
capital they had.
They were the company.
Yeah.
And so I did retention for them. That was not fun. I lasted like 2 months. Just people yelling at you through the phone every single day. I was like, this is terrible. And then I did door to door. I had my friend who I danced with was also a manager for a team at Vivint, so he recruited me. His name's John. He
Did you know Zach Anderson, or was he was probably pretty young? Yeah, he was really young.
Yeah, my guy John, he kind of brought me in under his wing and kind of gave me a path of my life of like understanding that the money, the income can be completely up to me. And so I did 3 years with him in Houston, Austin.
Well?
I did better. I did best as a rookie. And then I got kind of
complacent.
A little bit. And Vivint, they always push it like, okay, Vivint's just a vehicle for you to get to your next step, right?
Step, yeah.
You're not here to knock doors for the rest of your life. And if it is, that's fine too. A lot of people obviously make incredible money.
Yeah.
But I knew it wasn't for me forever. And I didn't know where it was going to be. But at 3 years, I was like, okay, like I'm just not getting better. And I just like, my mind wasn't quite there. So I left there and I went back to Vivint. I did phone sales with them. And maybe like 4 months in, I got along with the bosses pretty well, and I knew I had experience with door to door, and I did pretty decent. And so, real quickly, they promoted me to do some trainings for Vivint. So they'd send me. We had third-party sellers like Sam's Club or whatever, like the kiosk, and so they'd send me around the country to train reps how to sell Vivint at the kiosk. And same with like door to door as well. They'd sell like for like phone services or like roofing, and then they'd also pitch Vivint as well. So I did that for them for about a year. It was dope because I didn't have the pressure of like me alone knocking the door. I was just like shadowing and like teaching them how, like walking them through it. So it was really cool. They kind of covered everything. It was a salary job plus a little bit of commission, so it was cool.
The pressure's kind of lifted off.
Yeah. I'd go in front of like a room, maybe 20 or so reps, and I just train them the pitches, the product, and all that, and then I go shadow all of them for like 3 to 4 days, and they ship me off to these new cities. And
so it was cool. Yeah, that's like a really cool. Which is really rare in the door-to-door scene to have people like that. Because nowadays they're just like, we just want commission. Go knock doors and make money for us, as opposed to, hey, you actually have a different asset. That's so sick. And then, and so then you decided. So you were kind of telling me that Thrifthood was kind of like. Do you feel like it was like, it took a couple years for you to realize like, this could actually build into something that's like a working engine and a business that provides income.
For me, it took about 6 months to realize that,
So the first 6 months were kind of just...
First 6 months, it was just cool because there wasn't anything like this in Utah yet. And so it was just like, I was caught up on just like, this is cool. So to give history of how Thrifthood started. Me and my friend Sissy, which you know her pretty well, started Thrifthood 6 years ago. Kind of started on accident. We wanted to buy and resell clothes to get money to buy shoes for ourselves. And we went to like NPS, thrift stores, just to find whatever had like some kind of resale value. Posted it all on my personal Instagram, like 20 items, sold out. And we're like, dang, that's nice. So let's do it again. Sold out again. We're like, okay, people are loving this, that we're providing like a service for them, of like thrifting for them in a way. And so I didn't want to do it on my personal account anymore. So, okay, let's create a separate account. We called it Thrifthood. And we were supposed to sell strictly on the Instagram platform. That was it, right? And we launched December 18th, 2018. And what's today's date? Is tomorrow? Tomorrow's December 18th. No. The 8th. Tomorrow's
the 8th. Today's the 7th, yeah.
7th. So tomorrow's the 8th. So I was, and that was our launch date. And so we bought a bunch of product and we launched it. We had a story sale, and then at that time we maybe had like 200 followers. A kid who followed us was like, hey, I think his name's Connor Sharp. He messaged us. He's like, hey, can I come over and just look at all the stuff? Like, sure, come on over. He posted on his story where he was, and we were in my basement of a townhome. And so unfinished basement, just kind of different vibes.
Yeah.
And he posted on his story. By the end of the night, we had like 20 people in my basement because his friends saw it and like, can we come over? And so more and more people came over, and we were like, dang, like we got 20 people here. This is way more fun than doing a story sale. So let's just do this every Tuesday, Thursday. We opened from like 7 to 10 p.m. and just people would come to my house and just they'd have to DM, hey, we're here at the location. And I had roommates too, so I had to try and be respectful. Like don't ring the doorbell and knock on the door. I'll come and get the door. And so I'd get the door, be like, hey, come into my basement. And sometimes the parents would have to come in with them because it sounded sketchy, which I get.
So like actually, obviously younger. Your crowd was younger people.
Yeah, like high school and some younger college kids and so. But once you walk down the basement, it made sense. You're like, oh, because we had decor on the walls. You turn the corner, there's a couch and a dartboard and just like a chill section. You turn another corner and it's just like racks of clothes, shoes, pants, hats, bags, and all that. And 6 months in, I was like, I can't do this at my house anymore. Like, we would have throughout a night, like a couple hundred people coming through my house. And I'm like, we can't do this. And we grew from, in the 6 months, like 200 to 6,000 followers pretty quickly. Because again, like there were other vintage shops, but we're the only one that was doing it kind of that way. And now, 2014, there's tons of people selling vintage or thrift or sneakers out of their basements, houses, whatever. But 6 years ago, we were like really the only ones doing that. And so people loved it. It was cool, very different. And yeah, I needed to be out of that house. And so at that point, we went and looked at spots. We had like 5 locations picked out to look at. The spot we're at now, that was the first one we looked at. We walked in, we were speechless. We're like, this is perfect. We end up, canceling the other 4 appointments we had because I was like, there's no point to look at those. This is it. This is our spot. And so after we got that, real quickly, I was like, hey, I need to make a decision. Because at that point, I was doing Vivint still and that, but it was just hard to balance both. So I was like, I got to put all my chips into one thing.
Which is a risky... Which you probably felt where you're like, ooh.
Yeah. My mom wasn't happy about that because I had the salary job. Like, it was all pretty.
It was a really safe option.
Yeah. And so quitting that was kind of difficult, but I also knew what I'm capable of and what I can do. As long as I'm behind it, I know it wasn't going to fail. And so, now
which is a dope like just that phrase, as long as I knew I was behind it, I knew it wasn't going to fail.
Yeah.
And so clothing, we were talking about this before the podcast. What do you say? It was the two industries that are the hardest to
It's
build
like
a startup.
retail and then restaurants.
And
food.
restaurants.
Yeah.
And so throughout kind of when you first started it, was it going up? And then what years did you kind of take a hit and you were like, was there a certain time, and when was that certain time where you're like, uh-oh, I don't know if this is going to work for me?
Every now and then, I'll be honest, I do have those thoughts that come in, but then I have to remind myself, like, okay, like have a proof of concept now that like this works. We've had people camp 2 nights before a certain drop. Like we have hundreds of people wait in line for certain things that we do, and
you're
so I
now
was like
connecting with also like celebrities, athletes.
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
kind of thing.
And so I'm like, okay, we've done this, we can do this. So on days where it's like sales are maybe a little bit lower or whatever it is, like I'm like just have to remind myself that hey, this is like a 1-2 day thing. Like we always bounce back from this. So like nothing to worry about too hard to get in the dumps, you know. But overall, like since then, it's almost always been on an uptrend. It's just how steep is that uptrend, right? When we first started, it was insane. It just people loved it. It was new, right? And then COVID hit. COVID was actually our best year to date, I think, because people had a stimulus check. People were bored, right? Like once they were done with being locked in, like everyone wanted to come out and do stuff. And so we did really good during COVID time, which sad for the companies who didn't make it through COVID, but we did really good. We had to shut down for 2 months, which was hard, but after that was really good. And then, 2021, 2, 3, 4, everything has been really solid. I don't think we've ever had like a downtrend. If anything, it's just been kind of plateaued a little bit. It'll go up, plateau, go up, plateau a little bit, but we have a lot of plans. Second location in Salt Lake, I think that would be a really good move for us. I've wanted that for 3-4 years now to have a spot in Salt Lake. You were working with
Shane's wife, right? In
Salt
Lake?
Yeah. She came up just a couple days with me. Spent a couple hours up there with me and some contractors to go through just the space. She's dope. She's cool. Hannah's cool, so she'll be helpful with the Salt Lake space.
I'm like interested to hear just kind of like brief, like the kind of like there's soft skills involved in business, and then there's like the hard skills.
Yeah.
Where did you kind of learn? Because obviously you had to learn quickly both of them, and you had to learn like, because like for me starting a business would be hard just because of all the finance, the accounting, the taxes, the payroll, all of those things. Yeah. How did you pick up on those, and did it take time? And are you at the point where you're hiring someone to do those kind of things, or?
To me, that kind of stuff, I associate kind of with school.
Yes.
Right? I don't like it.
Yes.
I don't like everything you just named right there.
You hate it. And I hate it too.
It's like the worst part of business and worst part of like what I'm doing. And so everything's hired out. I don't want to really take up my time to do any of that. And so all that's hired out, CPAs and bookkeepers and apps and different kind of things to make my life a little bit easier. But that's my least favorite part. I don't think it's anyone's favorite part of business. It's not the fun part, but
what kind of like, if you were to round down to like 3 principles for yourself, not just Thrifthood, but 3 kind of guiding principles. For me, I love talking about, and I think this is like a guiding thing for all people that are entrepreneurs. I feel like everyone has a deep-rooted why of why they do something. And your deep-rooted why, in order to make your Thrifthood actually successful, couldn't just be income and money. Yeah. Anyone that's like, especially in one of the hardest things to start. So what I like to ask is like, it's built off of 3 pillars. Your why is built off of your dreams, your people, and then in a sense your revenge. You're kind of like the receipts you keep, the people that you've doubted. If we were to go through kind of those 3 things, starting with like, let's say your people, what would be those things? So your people.
I like that. Those are good. That's a good question. My people stems from my upbringing, right? Like growing up, single mom. She had to work 2 jobs. Was not her fault, but rarely around. So my friends and the people around me became like my family and like my circle. And once I bring someone into my circle, it's kind of like you're my people, you know, like I'll do everything in my power to kind of.
Interesting. Everyone that I have on, every winner that I claim as a winner, always is like that. When you have them in your corner, it's like,
yeah, it's like the loyalty. It's just like you're there.
Yeah.
But then the revenge side, it's like once it's crossed, it's like it's hard to like to kind of come back from it. But yeah, for me, all growing up, like I was the kid who tried to be friends with everyone, but try to bring people in like, hey, like, oh, let's do these get-togethers and invite everybody. You know, like I want everyone to be involved and be there. And so I think going to Thrifthood, that's a big part of, I know that why we've done well, but also what I love about Thrifthood is bringing people together. And I don't want a specific, because there's a lot of brands out there that's like, okay, like Kith, you guys have a lot of Kith decorations here. It's like, okay, when I think of Kith, I kind of know exactly the type of person that would shop at Kith or Supreme or whatever it is. Like, I don't want Thrifthood to be a certain mold of person. I was friends with everyone in high school, and I tried to be cool with everyone. Nerds, band, jocks, whatever. I try to bring everyone in. So, kind of Thrifthood the same thing. Like I want the nerds to come in and hang out with us, you know. And we've had some different personalities come in, and I've gotten along with all of them, and I love every single person that walks in those doors, because I was a weird kid in high school. Very weird. I dressed like in neon clothing. I tried to be really out there and just, you know, and so
your people kind of round down to, even as far as the people that you do business with, your family, all your friends, you seem like you connect with like a lot of people, obviously.
Yep.
And you've had to, especially with your business.
Yeah.
But then your dreams, like going forward, or just, where do you see yourself in like 7 to 10 years from now? What are your dreams in that regard? Not just business, just in personal life and that kind of thing.
Personal life, me and my wife want 2 more kids. 2 more kids. Not having a dad growing up, right? Like that's so important to me, to just be the best dad I can be for my son and future kids, and be a good husband to my wife. And like at the end of the day, right now, that's the most important thing to me. And it's the best thing I've ever done. So, and I want to have financially, career path, whatever it is, like whether it's Thrifthood, which I hope it's Thrifthood, right? 5 to 7 to 10 years from now, I hope it's Thrifthood. If it's not, whatever it is, like I know I want to be successful in it, so I can create a life for my family that they didn't have to live through what I lived through. You know, of just, you know, I have to work 2 jobs, just like not being there, where like their family has to be like their friends more, and like I don't want them to go through that, and it's hard. And so that's like my dream, is just to make sure we have a good, comfortable life. I don't need to be rich, millionaire, but I just want where like I don't have to say, hey, we can't afford that. It's more like, hey, like we don't need that. Not because we don't have enough money. So I just want to take care of the people around me, and I try my best to do that, even with my Thrifthood team, my friends. I try and my best, right? But you know, it's so dreams wise, that's like my big thing on my mind right now with being a newer father, is just like I just want to take care of my family the best I can.
Yeah. And do you feel like ever since having a kid, that Wai's transitioned more to a father rather than a business person?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is another huge thing that I find with successful people in life, is that their Wai transitions to like more family.
Yeah, and but also at the end of the day, it kind of has to be the same thing, right? Like because of that Wai, I have to be better at my business.
It makes sense, yeah.
Otherwise, yeah.
And then, do you have any revenge?
I do. We won't talk too much about it.
No, you don't have to go into details, but like you don't even have to go into people, but maybe some individuals in your life, or things you remember of people being like, oh, I remember that. I kept that receipt.
Yeah, definitely. I know when Thrifthood was first starting, we had a couple people who were like, "What are you guys doing?" Kind of making fun of us. So I remember those. Yeah, there's certain things that have happened over the years of Thrifthood being in business, and also me as just, I'm a very observant person. So I notice a lot of things that maybe people don't notice, even like nonverbal that people might do or say. And a lot of my people who are close to me know it's not a good quality, but I'm a pretty petty person. Like if something goes
very specific.
Yeah. And so I do keep receipts, and it's not good sometimes. But I also work really well off of people doubting me, or like people hating on me or doing me wrong. Like that's a great enough reason alone for me to just come back and just try and destroy what they even thought I was. All right. And so, yeah, I for sure do have, I have receipts. But
looking off in the distance, he knows.
I don't.
I know what you mean,
we
though.
Don't need to.
I know what you mean, and I think those three things, as we kind of wrap up like this episode, like I think those three things together build off of like someone that will do anything, because I believe like if your why is so deep, the what and the how are just like irrelevant. And I love what you said of just like, I knew that if I was behind it, it was gonna work. And I think like you look at successful people, I think people are petty. I'm very petty, very specific.
Yeah.
And you almost need to, if you want to do something and separate yourself from those that are failing in businesses and doing those kind of things. So building off of kind of this last question that I ask guests, and I want to kind of get further into, is just like Grit and Grace. That's the name of the podcast. And if you could kind of describe those two things together, how would you describe that? And what are the key moments in your life looking back that have established those qualities?
My mom is a big person. One of the nicest, most kind, genuine people I know, but also can just grit it out. Just really figure it out. Whatever it takes, like she'll do it. And so I think I got a lot of like who I am today because of her tenacity of just that grit. But being so graceful and kind and all, like just throughout the whole process. And I don't know, I feel like a lot of people lack that these days. I go to a lot of restaurants, customer service places, and I just feel like people with TikTok, I think TikTok has to blame with this. A lot of people see these kids or random people become influencers, and just thousands of dollars get flowing into them, and they just think it's that easy. And so I think people think money comes easier than it's portrayed now on social media, and so they lose that grit mentality of like, okay,
like a sense of entitlement.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I'm posting videos, like I should be getting money, and I'm an influencer now, and which is fine. Like it works out for a lot of people, but those that don't, I think they're like, oh, but I'm posting on TikTok, but I'm working in McDonald's, and they have this bad attitude, or wherever you work. Like, I don't care if you work at McDonald's or you're window washing or whatever it is. Like, if you're going to do it the best of your ability. Otherwise, why do it, right? Like, have that grit mindset. Because if you're not going to have a grit mindset washing windows, it's not going to change if you're knocking doors or if you're a CEO of a company. Like, nothing's going to be different, right? You have to be the same. No matter what you're doing. And I think my mom really instilled that in me of just like, work hard and just grind through it. It doesn't matter what you do, because you might not always love what you do, but you still have to do it. It doesn't really matter, kind of what you were saying. And there's a saying that I really like is hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. And I'm not the most talented person, and I might not have the most knowledge with vintage especially, but a lot of people in this industry, I know I'm outworking them, and that's what will push me above most of these people. And so the grace part I'm still trying to figure out, but the grit part
You got it down.
I understand it a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
It's just nothing's gonna beat hard work.
Yeah.
You know, you might be the worst. Like when I was knocking doors, when the sun set, I would start, because sun sets, so I'm like, okay, I have another hour, maybe hour and a half before the car group starts picking me up. My rookie year, so then I started to sprint from house to house because I'm like, I gotta get one before the night's over.
So it reflects who you are, heavy.
Yeah, so instead of walking house to house, we're like, oh, it's getting dark, I'll sit on a curb. Like I started to sprint house to house, right? So I'm like, if I don't have one, I gotta get one.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go home empty-handed, because if I'm gonna be out here knocking doors away from my friends, family, from summer leisure, it's like I might as well make a couple $100, $1,000 today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that will beat the kid who is walking from door to door.
Mm-hmm.
And he might be a better rookie than me, but he's not running. So I'm going to hit more doors.
He's not going to work harder.
Yeah, he's not going to work harder than me. And so, yeah.
And then the grace aspect, what do you want to go do moving forward? How are you going to have more grace for yourself and maybe even others, but more so yourself?
I want to be in a position to help out others, not just in like a monetary way, but also where I can give advice. I've had kids come and asking me like, hey, I want to start a vintage shop. I don't want to be that gatekeeper of like, oh, like, you know, I'm not going to tell you. Like, I'll give the knowledge that I feel like it's going to sound bad, but worth giving. Because I don't want to give too much knowledge where it takes away their learning, because that's some of the best part of what you can give someone is experience. Mm-hmm. You can't give that to them, so they have to kind of grind through that on their own. The grace part is really learning that this is the first time I'm doing this. You know, I have days where I'm like, oh, I need to be a better boss to my team, and I'm like, I'm not. Like, if they have an issue, I'm like, it's my fault. Mm-hmm. You know, and like if we have a bad month, it's like, it's my fault. Mm-hmm. My family's maybe not communicating the best, me and my wife, and like, it's my fault. But it's like we're all living life and living through these experiences for the first time. Mm-hmm. And so I just need to be better at being nicer to myself. I'm really hard on myself. Even since I was a kid, just had to be hard on myself because I was the man of the house growing up. So I was like, I have to do this. Mm-hmm. And, you know, it's like, I don't know. That's a hard one for me. Grace is really hard for me.
I don't You're the first guest that's been honest about that, because I understand what you're saying.
I don't have it figured out at all, because I'm hard on myself, and I do not have it figured out even for myself. So it's hard for me to do that for others. And my wife, super thankful for this, but she told me something that was really hard for me to hear. She told me that I wasn't expressive with my thankfulness towards others. And I was like, damn, that sucks to hear, because she's like, yeah, like when like I do the dishes or like I do the laundry or I clean up the house, like
you don't express gratitude.
It'd be nice to hear a thank you, but I'm like, but like that's just like what, like I do this, you do that, and we kind of, not that like she has to do that, you know, but that's my mentality, right? It's just like, get it done. It doesn't matter. It's like, who cares? Like that's even for my employees, like it's like, well, I'm paying you to do that. Why would I thank you for doing that? Mm-hmm. But it's like, but it's not because I'm ungrateful, but that's just how I was raised, right? Like I never really got that in the Chinese culture. Is very like, it's not very like,
it's not forgiving. It's not very forgiving. It's not very, it's very,
there's not much like, I love you. Mm-hmm. I'm thankful for you. I forgive you. It's just like, it's very intense. And so I didn't really have that. And I don't want to blame it on the culture, because like I can change and I can be a better man. And so, yeah, the grace part is something really new for me. So I'm trying to be more thankful for even the smallest of things that I might not think is, I sound like such a terrible person.
No, but trust me,
like
you're not.
I'm trying to.
So honest. It was just like raw.
Yeah, it was hard for me to hear that from my wife. And then when she told me that, because I was having some stuff with my employees, I was trying to think like, why is this happening? And she pretty much told me like, if I show my thankfulness a little bit more towards them, they probably will listen to me a little bit more and work a little bit harder. Yeah. And I was like, damn, it's like, I've never even thought that I wasn't that way, But that was a hard thing to hear, but it was so needed. When she said that, I was like, wow.
So you feel like you're trying to change that?
Yeah, so that was just like 3 weeks ago. So it's a very new thing that I'm trying to be better at. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to do that, and so yeah, super thankful for her for calling me out, and I'm grateful I was in a position to like receive that as well and not be so prideful, like no, like I'm, and so I'm trying to be better even with her. Like, thanks for like putting away my stuff, even though I could do it too.
No, I get that.
So,
well, I think you have a lot more grace than you think, and I think like everything you do is amazing. Like, seriously, like I think you're amazing, and I think like everything you've done with Thrifthood is like mind blowing to me, and the fact that you've gone through valleys and peaks, and I mean, you could have a whole 10-hour podcast on this. I
love talking too.
Yeah, and we could go through so many aspects, but I just know for you, I know exactly, like, I just think you're amazing. And I see beyond the, like, you're the only person in Utah that has all these 85 ones. Like, it extends further than sneakers. It extends further than clothing, and that's why I wanted you to have on the podcast, to learn about this and to learn about the backstory. And this is why LB's this, and this is why LB's this. So people, when they listen, they're not just like, oh, he's just the Thrifthood owner. Because when you do something like that and own something, that becomes your personality and your label. Right. But there's more to you, and I see that, and I think a lot of people see that. And so I'm grateful to have you on the podcast, and even just to learn more about you and get to see these.
We didn't even get into like.
We didn't even get. Oh yeah, we might have to do a part 2.
Let's do a part 2.
Yeah,
we'll talk more closer stuff.
I actually do want to do a part 2 with you, and I think this kind of gives a part 1 of setup of your timeline, and then I want to dive into the weeds more of like Thrifthood, and I want to dive into maybe more of your actual experiences with like Post Malone, Jordan Clarkson, all of these guys. Yeah. But yeah, let's do a part 2. Cool. Part 1 for now, and
that was fun.
That's a wrap. Thanks, brother.
That was fun. Okay.